The transaction completed before you knew it had begun. No alarm, no notification, no trace of intrusion. A file changed hands, quietly, efficiently, finally. And inside that file was you. Not a fragment, not a username pulled from some forgotten account. All of you. Your medical history, the messages you sent at 2 in the morning, the ones you assumed dissolved into silence, every coordinate your phone recorded without asking permission, your credit profile, your insurance records, your behavioral patterns assembled across years of digital movement, organized, cross-referenced, and packaged into a portrait so complete it would physically unsettle you to see it. You were not asked, no contract was signed, and the transaction completed anyway. This is the architecture of a market you were enrolled in without your knowledge, an economy operating beneath the visible layer of commerce, governed not by regulation, but by reputation, by volume, by the cold arithmetic of supply and demand applied to human identity itself. But here is what no headline ever tells you. The person who sold your file may have never touched your devices, may have never deployed a single line of malicious code, may have never looked directly at you at all. Which means the threat is not a hacker in a basement somewhere running scripts against a firewall at 3 in the morning. The threat is structural. It does not need to break in. In many cases, it was already inside.
The internet was supposed to set you free. That was the promise, earnest, intoxicating, delivered with the particular confidence of people who genuinely believed they were constructing something civilization had never witnessed, a borderless commons where geography dissolved, where the powerful could no longer silence the inconvenient, where activists in authoritarian states would speak without fear and journalists would protect their sources with mathematics instead of prayer. The architecture of oppression, they argued, could not survive a network engineered to route around it. They were not entirely wrong. The tools were real. The encryption was elegant. The vision, however, was dangerously incomplete. Tor emerged from a United States Naval Research Laboratory, a technology built to protect intelligence operations, and found its second life as infrastructure for dissidents, whistleblowers, and those who simply believed a private thought deserved to remain private. Its anonymity was not a loophole, it was the point. Then came Silk Road. What Ross Ulbricht orchestrated beginning in 2011 was not merely a drug marketplace, it was a proof of concept, a live demonstration conducted at scale that anonymous commerce was no longer theoretical, that trust could be engineered into a system without courts, without contracts, without any of the institutional scaffolding civilization had spent centuries constructing. Bitcoin handled the settlement, reputation scores handled the accountability. The state was simply removed from the equation. The implications were seismic. Almost nobody in the legitimate economy was paying attention. Meanwhile, in corners of the web that required patience and invitation to access, something quieter was accumulating. Stolen data appearing in forum posts like trophies, usernames, hashed passwords, fragments lifted from breached platforms and shared freely among people who valued the demonstration more than the material. Curiosities, technical achievements, the digital equivalent of a lockpick displayed on a shelf. Isolated, everyone assumed, manageable, the kind of problem a good IT department and a forced password reset could resolve. That assumption became the most expensive mistake of the digital age, because those trophies were not isolated. They were the earliest inventory of an industry that had not yet recognized what it was becoming. The data was accumulating, the infrastructure was maturing, and somewhere in the space between the idealism of encrypted liberation and the cold pragmatism of anonymous commerce, a market was learning to recognize its own product. What that product eventually became, what it was shaped into, by whom and through what mechanisms, that is a question the architects of the free internet never thought to ask.
At some point, chaos learned to organize itself. The early forums were crude, volatile, governed by ego and mutual distrust, populated by individuals more interested in demonstrating capability than generating revenue. Data was shared, sometimes sold, but without structure, without consistency, without the operational discipline that separates a criminal act from a criminal enterprise. That era ended quietly. What replaced it was something far more unsettling than chaos. Standardization arrived. The industry, and it had become an industry, developed its own product taxonomy. Stolen credentials alone were no longer sufficient. The market demanded completeness. What emerged in response was the fulls package, a single dossier containing a target's full name, social security number, date of birth, address history, credit file, banking details, and in the most premium configurations, medical records. Everything required not merely to impersonate a person, but functionally become them, legally, financially, medically. Packaged, priced, reviewed. The reviews are what should disturb you most. Criminal forums began operating with the transactional etiquette of legitimate commerce. Vendors maintained ratings, disputes triggered refunds, customer support channels fielded complaints about the freshness of breach data, because freshness mattered, because a credential harvested yesterday commands a premium over one extracted 2 years prior and already burned through prior transactions. Subscription models emerged, promising buyers a continuous feed of newly compromised identities delivered on a reliable cadence. This was not improvisation. This was infrastructure. And here is where the architecture becomes genuinely difficult to trace, because operating in parallel on the entirely visible, entirely legal surface web, data brokers had spent decades constructing their own vast repositories of human behavioral data. Purchasing histories, location patterns, relationship networks, psychological profiles assembled from public records and commercial transactions. Ambiguous in origin, legal in acquisition, extraordinarily detailed in composition. The line separating these two supply chains was never as defined as regulators preferred to believe. Datasets migrated, brokers resold to brokers, enriched files crossed from gray markets into dark ones and back again, laundered not through cryptocurrency mixers, but through layers of corporate abstraction. Over 15 billion stolen credentials already circulating, copies of copies, redundant and persistent and practically indestructible. Your identity was not stolen once. It entered a system specifically engineered to ensure it could never fully leave. But the question of how money moved through this economy without leaving a visible trail, how an entire financial nervous system was constructed beneath the one you use every day, that answer required the invention of something most people still do not fully understand.
The damage was never meant to be temporary. That is the detail every post-breach narrative omits. The press release arrives, measured, apologetic, calibrated to the news cycle. The company offers credit monitoring for 12 months, a gesture performing remediation rather than achieving it. Embedded in every corporate response is the same foundational assumption that a breach is an event, discrete, bounded, something that happened, past tense, and can therefore be addressed, closed, moved beyond. It cannot be closed. Once a dataset replicates across decentralized infrastructure, it does not degrade. It does not expire. It propagates. Copied onto servers spanning dozens of jurisdictions, mirrored across networks that exist specifically to resist takedown, until the data achieves a permanence no physical document ever could. The breach is not an incident. It is a transition. The moment your information crosses that threshold, it enters a state of perpetual circulation from which no regulatory action, no litigation, no personal effort can fully retrieve it. The human cost of this permanence is not abstract. Victims of identity theft report spending an average of hundreds of hours attempting to reconstruct financial reputations that were methodically dismantled in minutes. Credit lines opened in their names, loans they never signed, tax returns filed before they reached their own mailboxes. These are recoverable, eventually, through sufficient persistence and documented suffering. Medical identity theft is not. When a stolen identity is used to access healthcare, to claim insurance benefits, to receive prescriptions, to populate a medical record with someone else's diagnoses and treatment history, the corruption embeds itself inside systems that clinicians rely upon to make life-altering decisions. Incorrect blood types, allergies overwritten, medication histories falsified. The damage there is not financial, it is clinical, and it can kill. Governments recognized the scale. Legislation was drafted, task forces assembled, international frameworks proposed with urgency and considerable fanfare. Then the data crossed a border, and jurisdiction ended. Ransomware syndicates operating from sovereign territories beyond cooperative reach continued industrializing their operations, leveraging artificial intelligence to correlate fragmented datasets at velocities no human analyst could approach, assembling targeting profiles of extraordinary precision from the accumulated wreckage of a decade of compromised databases. The weapon was not the hack. The weapon was everything the hack left behind.
The darkness never concealed it. We simply refused to look directly at it. The shadow economy of stolen identity does not operate in opposition to legitimate commerce. It operates in parallel to it. Same logic, same incentives, same fundamental hunger for scale, efficiency, and margin. The infrastructure is sophisticated, the supply chains are resilient, the customer acquisition strategies would be instantly recognizable to any MBA who has spent time studying market consolidation. Ransomware syndicates now operate with organizational charts, dedicated development teams, human resources functions recruiting specialists across disciplines, revenue figures that would place them comfortably within the upper tier of mid-market enterprises in any legitimate industry vertical. These are not criminals who stumbled into money. These are operators who identified a market inefficiency and built institutions around it. The system is not chaotic. That is the realization that changes everything. Chaos can be disrupted. Chaos makes errors, leaves traces, burns out under its own disorder. What has been constructed here is not chaos. It is architecture, deliberate, redundant, self-correcting architecture built around a single commodity that exists in inexhaustible supply and costs nothing to reproduce: you. And now the most uncomfortable question surfaces. Not who built this, but what it reveals about the systems that permitted it. The data brokers operating entirely within legal frameworks, the platforms that monetized behavioral surveillance and called it personalization, the regulatory structures that treated identity as a commercial asset before anyone had fully considered what that designation would eventually cost. The villain in this story does not have a face, it has a business model. Which returns us to the only truth that matters now. In a world where breached data is permanent, where copies outlive the companies that lost them, where artificial intelligence can reconstruct a complete human profile from fragments scattered across a decade of compromised databases, privacy is not something that was taken from you in a single dramatic moment. It is something you held briefly, temporarily, under the illusion of ownership. You were never the customer in this economy. You were always the inventory.